So is your to-do list breeding like rabbits in a luxury hutch, or does your brain feel like you're a web browser with 73 tabs open, all playing different, you got it, cat videos? Well, if overwhelmed has become your default setting, you might think you're just really busy and super important, but here's the spoiler. You're probably just inefficiently stressed and it's costing you. Let's get into it. Hey there, welcome to the Sunday Spark, where we ditch those Sunday scaries and ignite some serious inspiration before the work week. I'm Faye Chappell, your semi-sassy guide and the founder of the Regeneration Company, and I'm here to help you crush burnout, brainstorm big ideas, and remember that success should actually feel good. So grab your coffee, strap in, and let's spark some insight. All right, high achievers and recovering perfectionists, welcome to the Sunday Spark. I'm Faye Chappell, your chief mythbuster here at Sunday Spark, and today we're not just talking about overwhelmed, we're declaring a war on it. Overwhelm is overrated. So, how do top performers simplify, strategize, and slay their to-do lists without losing their minds? Well, let's be blunt. In a world of business and peak performance, overwhelm isn't a badge of honor. It's really a symptom of system breakdown. It leads to decision fatigue, costly mistakes, missed opportunities, and let's not forget, a personality that could literally curdle milk. So let's talk about what it is, what you need to do. Let's get started, because the brutal truth about why your brain gets swamped and how modern work culture really gleefully feeds that beast, that's a problem, right? We're going to talk about a little bit about the strategies that those top performers use to cut through the noise, ruthlessly prioritize, and reclaim their focus. And no, not just work harder. That's not one of them. Let's talk about practical tips, and let's go from feeling perpetually behind to confidently in control, making better decisions, and actually enjoying your success. So, if you're ready to ditch the drama of too much to do and step into a more streamlined, strategic, and frankly saner way of achieving your goals, then excellent. Let's get this anti-overwhelm intervention started. So for my entrepreneur friends, we like to think of the busy fool versus the streamlined solopreneur. So if you're an entrepreneur, especially a solopreneur or a small business owner, really overwhelmed can feel like your co-founder, right? You're wearing all the hats. You're juggling literally chainsaws, but there's a huge difference between being busy and being effective, okay? I knew this really brilliant consultant. I think her name was Fiona. Let's call her frazzled Fiona. She was incredibly talented, but she was drowning. Her days were literally a blur of reactive firefighting, answering emails, saying yes to every single tiny little request from every single client. And she was working literally 70 hours a week. Her income was stagnant and she was perpetually stressed. She felt busy, but her business wasn't thriving, right? And she came to us to add she needed some help. She needed to figure it out. At the same time, I was also working with someone called Steve, and I'm going to call Steve in the opposite of frazzled. I call him streamlined. So Steve ran a similar consultancy, right? But he seemed annoyingly calm, right? You know those people? His secret was systems and simplification. So, number one, he ruthlessly prioritized, right? He used that whole Eisenhower matrix, I think it's called, where it's the urgent, important, religiously. If it wasn't important, it got deleted or deferred or downgraded. He didn't really worry about anything unless it was urgent or important. That's how he made sure he did what he needed to do first, right? And then he talked about batching and theme days, right? We've been talking about this over the past couple of weeks. Emails that he checked only twice a day, right? Twice a day. That's all he limited himself to. And we've worked on this, guys. You schedule that in so you don't consistently check your emails. Mondays he did for client outreach. Tuesdays were for deep work and creation. right? So he didn't constantly switch gears all throughout the day. He made sure he did what he needed to do, and that was it. And then he outsourced everything. He outsourced bookkeeping, social media, scheduling, everything. And it was really a small little fee, because here's the thing: when he recognized how much more he could make using those hours, he could make way more than the money he put out. So he used other people, he used tools to automate any leads or follow-ups. This freed him up for high revenue, high value work, right? While Fiona, we got her to eventually adopt some of the same systems that we had worked with Steve on. So she started time blocking, she started using an autoresponder, she made small little changes, and it gave her massive impact on her sanity and her bottom line. And that really grew as she became more focused. So what's our key takeaways here for our entrepreneurs? Well, number one is stop glorifying the being busy, right? Output and outcomes matter. Not how many hours you clocked looking stressed. Your activities actually moving the needle. That's what was really important, not just activities that fill time. You have to create systems that create freedom, not restrictions. So if you implement simple systems for recurring tasks like client onboarding or content creation or invoicing, it actually reduces that mental load and errors, and it frees you up in giving you time to strategic think, to be creative, to talk to other people, right? And then delegating, you're automating before you actually detonate that bomb. You want to identify tasks that are really low value for you to do personally, right? Because they can be outsourced, and they can be outsourced to Fiverr or students or automated. You can get a piece of software that can handle them, right? And so you don't have to waste your time doing them. That's all about our entrepreneurs. But what happens in corporate? Because really in corporate, we have to try to escape those, those ridiculous really insane meetings, right? Meeting after meeting after meeting. What can I call it? Meeting mania. And those email avalanches, right? Like you go through all your emails, and then you look up, and 2 hours later it's full again. In the corporate world, overwhelm often wears different disguises, right? It can be back-to-back meetings that could have been done on emails, right? An inbox that looks like a digital avalanche, that really you get that constant pressure of group consensus on really trivial matters. You don't need to discuss everything at every meeting. So picture this team: talented individuals, but their days were so fragmented by endless meetings and CC'd on every email possibly that they never really could get everything done. So deadlines were missed, stress was high, good ideas were lost in the noise, and the appearance of productivity was really high. Remember what I said, the appearance. Everyone looked busy, but the actual impact, the output wasn't there, right? It's always the same story. Think about it. Some days, and if you are in corporate, you can go meeting, 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 and then at the end of the day, you realize you've accomplished nothing. Your day work couldn't get done because you were overwhelmed with meetings, right? So, meeting, audit, and agendas, let's talk about those. Let's question the necessity of those everyday recurring meetings. Are they really necessary? Can we perhaps require a clear agenda and actionable outcomes for any meeting that happens, right? Shorter meetings start becoming the norm if we know what our goal is in the meeting and what we leave with, right? We have to email etiquette and the overhaul of all that. We have to discourage that reply all unless actually we need to reply to all. Everyone doesn't need to know everything, right? And you can easily use it by using some management tools for focus work. Like you could do certain things on Slack, or you can do certain things on group boards, but you don't have to send everyone an email every single time. And maybe you can do a no email Fridays and let everyone actually just get their day job done. Focus blocks, we always encourage, right? Actively, we encourage our members to really block out 1 to 2 hour of chunked time in their calendars so they can actually do the work. We have been talking about these strategies over and over for the last couple of weeks, looking at them at different angles, and we really want to make sure, I want to make sure that you get them done, because the result is more focused work gets done. Stress levels literally visibly drop, and believe it or not, communication actually improves. Okay, so be a bit of a meeting renegade, right? Can you decline a meeting if you're not essential to it? Can you perhaps suggest a more efficient way to share that information? If you're running it, make it count or cancel it. Don't have a meeting for a meeting. Then really look again at your inbox. Tame your inbox. Don't let it tame you. Turn off notifications. Process email in batches. We've been consistently saying batch your emails. Don't look at them all day long, right? And be ruthless. Use filters and folders. Protect your prime time. Identify really those productive hours and guard them fiercely for your most important tasks, okay? Communicate your need to focus to your entire team, your boss, anyone that works for you. Understand if your culture becomes it's important to focus, then everyone will start being able to do just that. But don't let it stop with your entrepreneurs or your corporate issues. You also have to think about it on a deeper level, personal development deep dive, really, right? Because sometimes your brain is on too much, I guess you could say. So regardless of your work setup, managing overwhelm is a really deeply personal development skill, because your brain isn't a supercomputer. It doesn't have infinite processing power. It gets tired. We get tired. We get bogged down, right? So here's how to be a better manager of our own mental resources. So number one is the single tasking superpower, because multitasking truly is a lie. Your brain can truly only function on one thing cognitively if it's a demanding task, right? So switching between tasks rapidly, it creates that attention residue, right? Making you really get slower and prone to errors, right? So practicing on focusing on one thing until it's done or until a planned break. You know, I'm a big supporter of beyond one. So I love having what I call my niche verse, right? It is my multiple of micro niches. I have many different companies that I work on, but I don't work on them at the same time. I work on them individually. That's how I get things done. You know, there's a 2-minute rule, and it was popularized by, I believe, David Allen. He wrote a book called Getting Things Done, right? If a task takes less than 2 minutes to complete, then do it immediately. And this prevents all those small things from cluttering your mind and your to-do list. And that's like simple things. So for example, if you're walking through the kitchen and you know you have no paper towels out and they're in the closet, go get them and put them out rather than thinking you'll do them later. If you can do it in less than 2 minutes, do it. Make sure you get that done so it's one less thing to think about. And then start really externalizing your brain, right? Think of the brain dump, right? Don't try to hold everything in your head. That's really a recipe for mental chaos, and that's really why a lot of us practice mindfulness and meditation. I want you to regularly dump all your tasks, your ideas, your worries, your reminders onto paper or into a digital system. Just let it get out of your brain so you can reduce the feeling of overwhelm. Okay? Don't let it sit in your brain. And then I want you to really embrace imperfection and good enough. Perfectionism is a major driver of overwhelm, as it makes every task seem monumental. So you know when good enough truly is good enough, then move forward. Don't worry about it being better than good enough, right? So let me give you a little bit of a biohack or a mindset tool that I like to use. It's called the mind sweep and the prioritization ritual. At the start or end of the day, I want you to take 5 to 10 minutes for a mind sweep. Write down everything that's on your mind, right? Everything, tasks, worries, ideas. Then look at that list and pick just 1 to 3 absolute top priorities for the next day, okay? Or to close out the current day, depending on when you're doing this. Because this really brings clarity and a sense of control if you can actually just do one thing at a time, but don't give yourself more than 3. Get those out of the way before you replenish your to-do list. Do one thing at a time. I always like to try to help you with thinking about other things that can refresh your brain boost, right? Give you a clarity cooler, a break. I usually just use sparkling water, or I use regular warm water, and I do lemons juice, maybe some fresh mint, maybe some ginger, maybe some cucumber, whatever, but it's simple, it's hydrating, and it's a refreshing drink that really feels like a mini reset, right? Way better than any sugary drink. We talked about it in the Sunday Morning Club. You know, if you start thinking about sipping as a break, right? It's a mini reset. So as you take a sip of your water or your herbal tea, what you recognize is that when you're sipping, that's kind of an indicator for you to calm down, take a breath, and remember that overwhelm does not need to encompass every aspect of your day. You know, the Roman philosopher Seneca apparently said, it's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it, right? We do. We waste a lot of it. And I'd add, a lot of that wasted time is spent feeling overwhelmed by things that, with just a little bit of strategy and simplification, probably aren't as monumental as our stressed out brains make them seem. Being busy is easy. Being effectively focused, well, that's really the power move, right? Don't be the person whose epitaph reads, "Here lies Faye. They answered a lot of emails." I don't want to be known for answering emails. All right. I want you to be champions of calm and clarity. That's what Spark is really about. I want you to take the time to put these insights into action for the week ahead. So I want you to choose your weapon against overwhelm this week. So let's recap some of these to make sure you are paying attention. So number 1, perform a brain dump, right? Spend 10 minutes today or tomorrow writing down everything that's cluttering your mind. Just get it out. And then notice how you feel. And then identify one system to simplify, whether it's picking one recurring task or one area of your life that feels really chaotic and there's a brainstorm, right? That you want to do one thing differently to streamline this week. And then practice that 2-minute rule. It's fascinating what you will realize that you walk away from or you ignore because you almost think it's too easy to do, right? So if it takes less than 2 minutes, just do it and see how many things you actually clear. And then schedule 2 focus blocks. Block out 2 60-minute, 90-minute, whatever it is, chunks in your calendar this week for uninterrupted deep work on a key priority, and honor them. If you've heard me say this in other episodes and you're hearing it again and you didn't do it yet, this is your opportunity to get on board. One more thing, I want you to really share those strategies. If you come up with something that you think is phenomenal about getting overwhelmed, please write them in your comment, or if you're in our community, please go ahead and share them, because by sharing, that's when people realize that they're not alone. So let's help more people reclaim their sanity and their strategy. Remember, overwhelm is a choice, and you can choose differently. I'm Faye Chappell. Thanks for sparking with me this week, and I can't wait to see you again next week. Well, you've just had your Sunday Spark. How's that for a power-packed start to the week? If you're ready for more tips, laughs, and let's get real moments, be sure to subscribe and share this podcast with all of your friends and your crew. Got questions, insights, or just want to say hey? Well, head over to my website, faychapel.com, or any of the social media feeds, and I will be with you there. Until next time, keep that spark alive, and remember, your best life doesn't just happen. You have to create it.